Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Dennis Duke Uganda. If you're new here, kindly subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on different social media platforms at Dennis Duke UG. I got this question from one of you, my lovely viewers, and this person asked me to do a video on record keeping when it comes to rabbit farming. But before we go into that, I would love to note that record keeping in rabbit farming is very, very important, and without it you cannot survive even for 1 year, because you will be kicking yourself out of the business. So I'm going to talk about these books like one after another, which book leads to the other, and the importance of actually having those particular books. So I'm glad you're still watching The Duke's Farm. Ladies and gentlemen, we offer you different services, training in terms of rabbitry. We also offer consultation. We also do cage construction, among others. We also have the best rabbit breeds in the country. So please hit me up on these numbers and I'll be more than glad to serve you. Now, if you notice, these are normal books that are used by students in school, by students everywhere in the country. So it's not that I have any special books I have made. Of course, we are looking at making those books for you, ladies and gentlemen, to save you the hassle of having to write everything in here, okay? This record keeping thing is not just in rabbitry, like I told you in the beginning. You can use this same, record keeping video in chickens, in goats, in cows, in sheep, or fish, or even your boutique in town. Whatever you are, as long as you have a business that you intend to get money, please make sure you have a good record keeping practice. Here at the Duke's Farm, we have about 6 books, and all these 6 books have a different or a specific use that we have at the farm. The first book, which of course should be on your farm, is the visitors book. Now the visitors book here, we use it to record or register all people who come to our farm. Why do we do that? Is because we want to keep track, we want to keep record of every person who has ever stepped a foot in our farm, for future businesses, for future operation, for future consultation, and for future expansion, among others. Book number 2 that we have on the farm is the stock book. The stock book simply helps us to write to put every rabbit that has entered our farm or that has been born on our farm, as I'll be of course showing you in different aspects. Now the stock book acts as, of course, the nursery book as well. Now the nursery is simply our litters. We call it a nursery where we keep our litters. Some of the things you should note that should be in your notebook should include the cage number, okay, the breed of the rabbit, the age, and then the sex. Sometimes I even go ahead and put the price of that particular animal. So for example, in cage 9, we know that there is a New Zealand white of 6 months and it is female. And I have another book where I put the price, but you can equally put your pricing in here. This book is that same book we use when we are making sales. For example, if I need to sell maybe rabbits at the farm, I'll come to this book and mark that in this and this cage I have sold this rabbit, okay? The prices then go to the sales book, which I'll be of course talking about in no minute, okay? So the first book you need to have at the farm is the stock book, which we've put together with the nursery book as well. So for example, let me show you our kids, just the ones we recently separated from mothers. For example, in cage 89, we have kids from cage 17, and they are 4 in number, okay? So make sure that you put all those details in, that when you find one rabbit missing, you will trace back to this book and then find out what exactly happened to it. Was it stolen? Did it actually die? Among many other things, so that you actually save yourself from being cheated by your workers. After the stock book, let's go to another thing called the breeding. Breeding is simply when we are trying to expand our farm. where we get the kits. So breeding, in the breeding book we have a couple of things that we also note. We write down the date, and then we write down the cage number. For example, here we noted that the cage of the female and then the cage of the male. So we write here the cage of the female, and then also the cage in which the female is taken to, which is the male's cage, and then we write the date on which this female was served to that male. Ladies and gentlemen, this book is very important, as we are going to see it in another book. Where does this one come from? But where does this one lead? The breeding book simply leads us to the birth book. Now, the birth book is where we write all the births at our farms. And by birth book, of course, I mean the kits, okay? The litters that we get on the farm. I'll just open a page and show you what we write on this one. We put the date on which this rabbit gave birth, okay? We put the cage in which this rabbit actually stays. We also note down the number of kits this rabbit has given birth to. We again write down the number of live or alive animals or alive kits that this rabbit has given birth to. And then we write down the number of dead kits that this rabbit has had, okay? If you don't have that, it's going to be very difficult for you to know what exactly you are producing on your farm, ladies and gentlemen. Now, this book, again, because it's the birth book, it takes us back to the stock book. It also helps us when we are winning these rabbits. We then know that, hey, this rabbit gave birth on this day, so it's easier for us to actually win when it comes to vaccination, we use the birth book. When it comes to winning, we use the birth book. When it comes to breeding, we also use the birth book. Something that I forgot about the breeding book. We use the breeding book when we want to know which rabbit bred with which one, okay, on which date, among others. But also, remember the nesting box. You're supposed to give your rabbits a nesting box 5 days before it actually gives birth. You won't know that it's 5 days due if you do not have the birth book, rather the breeding book. Also, the breeding book helps you to check if your rabbit is pregnant, and that's after 2 weeks. You can't know that this rabbit has been pregnant for 2 weeks when you don't have the breeding book. So now you see how these books are equally important in rabbit farming as well, ladies and gentlemen. Now, another book that I also need to talk about is the expense book. The expense book, simply like the name goes, expenses, is where we put our expenses at the farm. So for example, the salaries, okay, the food, the cost of food that I buy at the farm for my workers and myself, the cost of feeds that I buy for our rabbits, the cost of hay, the cost of vaccination, the costs of treatment, the costs of other breeds that we bring onto the farm from different farmers. I put them in the expense book, where everything I spend on the farm is, okay? At the end of the day, I take down all the expenses of that 1 month, ladies and gentlemen, and have a common figure. After that, we have the sales book, okay? The sales book is simply where I write all the sales, anything to do with money that comes onto the farm, ladies and gentlemen. Take, for example, when we sell our rabbits, okay, we write here. Now, the expense book, it doesn't have necessarily to have anything. Well, all you need to do is just put the month, January, and start. Every time you buy something or you spend on something at the farm, you just make sure you note it down so that you do not forget immediately. Things are supposed to be noted down immediately. There is no, it's just that simple and basic. The sales book, equally the same. And this sales book, the beauty with us is it is the same book. We put our farm visits, we put our consultation fees, we put our rabbit sales as well. So we know that in this month we sold such and such and such rabbits, and we had these visitors come for training, or we had this consultation elsewhere, among others. So all that money is put in the sales book, and then that sales book, we at the end of the month, we sit down, we get the expense book, and then we get the sales book, and then we add up the the expense, and then we subtract on the sales, and we know the margin, or we know the profit that we've made in that particular month. So when I know that I made this much in this month, it is now time for me to go out there and enjoy my life. Okay, I go eat some meat, I take all my wife out, I take all my kids, because I know we are in profits, or even look for other opportunities of actually investing, ladies and gentlemen. But you want to know that you're making money or you're making losses if you do not have the expense book and the sales book, or if you do not have these books, ladies and gentlemen. So these are the 5 books that I wanted to talk about. Another thing that I also need to talk about in the sales book that requires you to have the breeding book is, in rabbit farming, we so much want farmers to follow the right practices. And by following the right practices, I mean you can't sell a fellow farmer breeds that are from the same father and the same mother, because in rabbit farming we avoid inbreeding as much as we can. But you cannot be able to get over that if you are actually not having a good record keeping at your farm. So it is the breeding book that helps us know which one did we breed with which one, and after knowing those, we go back to the stock. So we know the stock because it has the nursery bed. We now, if we are picking from that nursery bed, we go back to the breeding book. Where did they originate from? We trace the father and the mother, and then we give you rabbits that are well. Some farmers think that we charge highly because, well, we just want money. No. It is because we follow the right practices, the right rabbit practices, ladies and gentlemen, so that you do not make mistakes at your farm. We want to sell you a rabbit that will be profitable in the long run, not something. You see, Uganda is flooded with a lot of, bachupuli, counterfeit persons as well, just like it is with money. So they all want to make is quick cash. We are not after making quick cash, but we are after making the best sales, but following the best practices on the market, ladies and gentlemen. That's all I had for you when it comes to record keeping. My name is Dennis Duke Uganda. If you're new here, kindly subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on different social media platforms at Dennis Duke UG. Until then, say goodbye.